I want to read something to you. It's a thought process from W.E.B. Du Bois. It's called The Double Consciousness. So this is what I'm reading. W.E.B. Du Bois' concept of double consciousness illuminates the inner turmoil faced by African Americans as they grapple with the duality of their identities, encompassing both their African heritage and their American upbringing. This psychological dichotomy leads to a perpetual struggle for self acceptance and societal validation, as individuals strive to reconcile their dual perspectives and cultural influences. The experience of double consciousness engenders a profound sense of alienation and a constant negotiation of one's place within a complex and often contradictory social landscape. Now, I understand the idea of double consciousness. I do. I realize more and more that I have navigated the idea of double consciousness my entire life. There is the public persona, there is the public me. There's always been there, right? But then there's the inner anger, the inner sorrow, the inner depression. And I know I'm not the only black person that has it. We all do. Whether we want to acknowledge or admit that we do, we do. I realize, because what I'm doing is I'm putting the pieces together for my book, right? And while I'm looking at the pieces I've already wrote, a thought came to me, right? It's the fact that I have navigated the double consciousness of my entire life for 52 years. I have. I realize now that my childhood ended. My childhood ended at 11. The day my brother and I were put in handcuffs for something we did not do. That's literally when my childhood ended. I realized that I have navigated in a world that I realize is not, it just does not like me. No matter what my personality is, no matter what genuinely I believe in, I live in a world that does not like me. And it is simply for the melanin in my skin. If I walk into a room with a bunch of older white women, let's just say older white women, right? If I walk into a room with them, I understand that I bring fear. I'm 6 feet tall. I'm 250 pounds. I have tattoos all over my arms. I wear hoop earrings and my fingernails are black. Automatically, I inspire fear. I do. Now, is it something I've absolutely done? No, it isn't. It is simply what they have been raised to believe. I have to disarm them. I understand that. But the inner me is rageful because of it. It is sorrowful because of it. This is why when we have these conversations about white privilege, and so many white people do not understand it, it's what pisses us off. No matter how we explain it, they still seem to believe that they're more focused on the word privilege and not the entire phrasing, which is white privilege. The fact that they do not have to have those double consciousness within them. They don't. White people do not have to have a double conscious. They don't. Their inner person and their outer person can be the exact same person, and there's never a doubt. Never. If they're fearful of black folks, every black person around has to bear the brunt of it. Why do we have to bear the brunt of it? Because it is something they perceive that they have focused on us. That is where white privilege dwells. The idea that you do not have to have that double consciousness. That your fears have to be, they can be manifested, they can be spoken aloud, they can be treated in a certain way, and that we have to navigate around that. That is white privilege. So there is a distinct reason why African Americans in America, I'm not even talking about the entire diaspora, I'm just talking about black folks in America, we are very untrusting of words. Actions are all we give a shit about. That is it. You cannot come to us with flowery words because we have heard flowery words since 1619. And those words have always ended up taking a backseat to the actions of other people. So when it comes to politics, when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to society life as a whole, what you will see from a lot of African Americans is this idea of we're not going to believe it until you do it. And if you do it, and we know you were going to do it in the first place, we're done. We're done. Trust amongst African Americans and the rest of society has to be built brick by brick by brick. And it can be knocked down with the slightest breeze. Because no matter what we're doing outside, internally, we understand that if they do it this time, they will do it again. They will do it again. You cannot put any trust into this, whether it's a system, a person, a system, an individual, an organization, what have you. You only have one time to mess up with us, and then we're done. Oh, sure, the conversations can still happen, and a friendship might even still blossom, but we will never trust you. We will never trust you. And it comes from that dual consciousness. We understand that there are people who look like us, who do not give us, who do not trust us. And again, our outward appearances, we got to talk to these people. We have to negotiate with these people. We have to be around these people. But internally, we have already wrote them the fuck off. We wrote them off. We want nothing to do with them. And I think if a lot more people study the idea of dual consciousness, if a lot more white folks who are doing the anti-racist work, if they understood that double consciousness, they would understand why black people are the way we are. How we get so angry when we hear about our own communities, the ones that we live in, the ones that we work in, the ones that we thrive in, the ones that we raise our children in, coming from people who are not in those communities, telling us about our own sins, our own ills, when we're looking at the rest of the world doing the exact same thing and not getting half of the vitriol and racist stereotypes that we do. I think if you are doing the work of an anti-racist, you have to study what double consciousness means to us. Because what you're going to learn is that, again, it goes back to the ally versus the accomplice. An ally will talk. And they'll talk to this person, the outward person. But on the inside, we already know your words mean nothing. As opposed to an accomplice who does the work, whether we see it or not, and then we notice the change. I realize that I have been walking around with this double consciousness my whole life. And I realize that it has shaped a lot of the foundations of the things that I believe in. And I also understand that I am going to navigate this way for the rest of my life. I would love to not have to. I would love to have all black people not have to navigate this double consciousness. But unfortunately, until society changes, and not just here in America, but across the world, until society changes, you will never get the true us. You will never see our true face. Because that face is the one that protects us from flowery words with no actions behind it. I want y'all to think about that.